Okay, for phase two, putting down the color, we're going to be very strategic now. In the past, we'll put down a lot of wash and let things blend, and that's been kind of fun, and that's the nature of watercolor, which is great. But when you're doing something more precise, where you want to make sure you keep your colors away from each other. This is going to stay yellow, this is going to stay blue, this will be brown, green. We're not blending these colors. You have to be you have to be very strategic and plan out where you're going to put your color first. So I've been thinking about this. In other words, if I do the background first, then I'm not going to do the flowers. I'll wait for the background to dry before I do the flowers. If I do the flowers first, I've got to wait for that to dry before I do the background. Okay, so there's things you can work on at a certain time. So I thought, well, I'll go ahead and start with the main focus here, which is basically the flowers. Okay, and with the flowers, what I'm going to do, again, they've got this nice bright yellow, sunflowery shape. So what we're going to do here, I'll show you how. So I'm going to start mixing got my water, put a little bit down here. Let's see. Now sometimes these colors right out of the box, you need to mix them up a little bit. So don't be afraid to mix on top of themselves like that. So I'm going to get this nice bright sort of orange, add some brown to it. Okay, and let's see how this, yeah, that's good. So I'm going to put it in here like this. And again, I'm just going to go up to the outside edge. Going to leave a little bit of white. So I'm going to just sort of sketch it in like this, okay? I'm going to leave a little bit of this sort of this white area around, because that's just, to me, is sort of the nature of what watercolors are. And we're going to do this. Remember how we used that brush, that tip of that brush like this to make a petal? So I'm going to just do that. And if I go over the line, it's kind of neat. It doesn't really hurt you. And just sort of adds to the whole sort of that watercolor effect. Okay, put this down here. And I'm going to do the whole flower. Because then I can go darker in the middle. I may want a little bit of that blend in there someplace. So that's the bright yellow part of the flower. Try a little more brown here. Just a little bit in the middle, just to start it off this way. Actually kind of worked pretty good. A little bit of this in here. Maybe a little bit of water here. Okay, and then maybe a little darker brown. Just for that little area in here. Maybe a little bit like that. And just a little bit here. Okay, let's see. Now let that dry. Now, I've done the flowers, which means if I go in and do the leaves, chances are they may blend a little too much. So what I'm going to do is go down here and I'm going to do the vase. Okay, or actually what I might do, let's do the board it's sitting on, or the tabletop. Let's do this like this. And you'll notice you go to the water, I picked up that yellow. So I'm going to go back to brown. And if you look at Van Gogh's work, you know, he's got these little dots. So we're just going to put a flood in here like this first. This nice brown. And I'm just going to let the thing, as we say, vignette out like this. You know, we talked about this before. I'm not going to make a border here. I'm just going to let it just sort of, vignette means you go from dark to light. Okay? So we're going to do this. And I'm going to add a few little dark little lines in here, some things. Just like that for now. Okay, so that gets me kind of started on the color palette a little bit. But I want that to dry, okay? Before I get in here too much, maybe a little dark here. But I'm not gonna go, there we go. I'm just gonna let that set. The other thing you can do, if you put too much water on your brush, too much water, you can actually, you dry your brush off on your paper towel, and you can take a dry brush, you can actually soak up the paint if there's too much. So take a dry brush, and you can actually try, we'll get a few of these little textures, but we'll come back later. So take a dry brush, you can actually pick up the paint just a little bit, like that. Okay, so that's our start. Let's see what else. So what else doesn't touch? Actually, the borders are looking pretty good. Maybe we'll go ahead and try to do the leaves. And I noticed I just got a little, I didn't put all my leaves in. Let's see, get my pen. See, I just noticed there's some leaves here I didn't add. So we got some stuff in here. This sort of adds to the composition. There we go. Got kind of a leaf down here. Looks like a leaf here. Okay, so we'll go ahead and put the leaves in. And these are a light leaf. Maybe get some different, maybe sure get some different color, different water. Yeah. I'm gonna add a little bit of my yellow in there because that makes it, by adding the yellow, see it sort of warms up the green. We call that warming, that's sort of an olive color now. But there's still a little more brown in that leaf. There we go. Yeah, there we go. So I'm gonna put a little bit in here. Go around the yellow leaf, or the leaf of the sunflower itself. And again, leave a little bit of that white around the outside. It's kind of a nice effect. But that's almost, let's see, this goes a little more brown actually. So we can add a little more texture. By texture meaning we've added a little more different color. That'll let the watercolor blend into itself just a little bit. Okay, it's our leaf. And let's see, oh, we got the one up here. This is actually a darker leaf. So we'll go a little darker. There we go, we can put the stem in, that dark color. A couple of leaves behind it there. And again, you can add, you don't need to have the drawing all the time, but you can just add in a little bit more detail. A little more in here. I kind of like this color a lot. I'm going to put it around a few more places. Okay, that might be enough for that. Okay, so I guess I started there. This is actually drying pretty good around here. So I'm going to go for this nice bright green, the vase itself. I might even just add just a little bit different green. Let this be white at the bottom. And I left out that little white highlights here. So I'm going to take my dry brush and kind of go back and see if I can't pick off the paint. It's just a little lighter there. See that? Again, I'm using a dry brush. You can also take your, if you haven't already discovered this, you can take your napkin and kind of pick up the paint just a little bit. There we go. It's not quite real white, but that's okay. I'll just paint around it just a little bit like that. Let's see, a little bit of a corner here. It says this. There's actually a little bit of a blue down here, which is kind of interesting. I'll just do this. And maybe just put a little corner or a little bit of an edge to kind of get that bowl to kind of turn its shape a little bit. So you got light here, it goes to dark like that. And there's a little bit of a shadow. But that might be enough for now, okay? So we'll let that sit and dry. It's actually drying pretty good. I think I'll just keep going. I think my flowers are looking pretty good. I might put a little more texture in here. I can come in with, again, another little bit of a little more of a soft brown. And give it a little bit of that, each individual leaf. Again, like we talked about before, you could just take that tip and do this a little bit. Just a little. I can just put a little texture, just use my brush. And remember, it's about that contrast, that, you know, so the dark areas to light areas. I think that's actually not bad. We'll just tell you what, I'll stop here for now, and we'll rejoin. I'll get back together when that dries up a little bit.